This is the Dane Moore NBA podcast brought to you by Prize Picks, coming at Wednesday morning. I believe it's Wednesday. It's April 10th. After Anthony Edwards' 51-point performance last night in a 9-point, this very, very April game, 9-point win against the Washington Wizards. It was Ant's first 50-point game of his career. I got Jace Frederick here with me to get into that. We also kind of sort of have a cat injury update. Shams just tweeted something that I'm not sure means anything. And then also a big game tonight against the Denver Nuggets. What's up, Chase?
What's up, dude? Just a hat tip to you for doing this. Like, covered a game last night, going to Denver in a few hours, and slipping in a quick podcast.
Yeah, well, you can see how prepared I am. No, I think the Denver game is gonna be awesome. I wanna be there and see that, and also it's the easiest trip. I mean, we did that a bunch. We did that a bunch last year, and I don't think there's going to be another very interesting regular season game, right? Like, what are Atlanta and Phoenix this weekend? I guess it could be, right, based on
Phoenix probably plays for something Sunday, and then Minnesota.
The Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, like with the Wolves, if they say they drop this one tonight, now all of a sudden you have to win out maybe to stay ahead of the Thunder, which is also something. So it's like the Wolves, could win their next two or whatever, and then Sunday can mean nothing. But that kind of seems like the only path for it meaning nothing.
Yeah. Well, tonight is for the one seed.
The big one. This is the big one, obviously. Yeah.
It is funny. It's like John tweeted out. Ants, you saw Harrison tweet it.
Harrison from Denver.
Yes, he was like, Ant was like, "Oh, it's a big game. I don't even need to talk about it." That Harrison, who's been on the pod before, he quote tweeted it with what Jokic said. It was like, "Not a big game. We'll see. Whatever." The Denver guys are really getting that energy, man. Like when I went there for the game 2 weeks ago, I went on the pod with them. And they were like, I don't know if Denver's going to take it that serious. I don't know how important it is. I'm like, okay, this is what happens. This is what happens when you get fancy,
and it makes sense, right? Like,
sure,
because in the big picture of things, I don't know how much the one seed matters more than the 2 or the 3 or whatever, because it really does. Like, you can lose tonight and win the championship. You can win tonight and lose in the first round, just given the way the West is anyway, So I understand both. I think when you haven't done this in a long time for Minnesota, it is super important. When you are the defending champs, it is going to be less important. That's just true. I really do think like both sides have the proper perspective right now.
And it's not that year where there's a free square 8th seed, which we've been saying for the whole time. That sometimes is valuable. Yes. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think
the play-in has made it. The play-in has made it so much harder to like try to position yourself. Like, we want to play this team, so we're going to try to get this seed. It's like, you don't know who you're signing up for when you get the 1 seed. Literally, your regular season finishes and you don't know who you just signed up for.
Right. I know. Like, we're not going to know where we're going, what's happening until.
Well, we know we'll be in Minnesota that first week. So
yeah. But Friday, and then actually, I've gotten a bunch of like messages from people like trying to. Like just fans and stuff trying to come in from out of town or like a couple hours away, and they're like, "Hey, like we have tickets for this. Do you know when?"
You get one on the week. You get one on the weekend, and then game 2 is either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Like, that's literally as far as you can go. It can go Sunday to Wednesday. It can be Saturday, Tuesday. It can be Saturday, Monday, Sunday, Tuesday. Like, those are all the combinations.
And it's just like that for 6 weeks.
Yeah, so trying to plan, that's really tough. Game 1, not hard. It's going to be Saturday or Sunday. After that. You don't know if they're going to get 2 days off or 1 or what.
The 20th or 21st will be the first game there. But got to get there first. A couple games left. Let's start with talking about Ant's 51-point performance. The part I liked about it, I know you would share this, is the way he got it, and it being within the flow, and as Finch said, all of that. At the same time, it's like, I don't want to say it wasn't an impressive performance, but I'm almost certain I'll be more impressed by an Ant playoff game, like 2 games into the playoffs, like game 1 or game 2. I think what Ant does will matter more to me than that 50-point performance, which isn't to take away from that, particularly not to take away from it, because it was like, I mean, you and I, whenever Ant gets like to like 40, you like turn around to me, you're like,
here we go.
See him start going for it, got it for it. But it was less that. I mean, what maybe you can describe that for people who maybe didn't watch the game last night, of the mix of hunting and but also kind of playing within the flow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was no question that he was being very aggressive when he got to like 42 or so in the last, I don't know, 5-6 minutes. Because, you know, he knows what 50 is, like, and he's never gotten there, and he knows that. But at the same time, like, yeah, exactly. He knew exactly when he got it, which every player does, you know, like, and like they were still running plays where oftentimes he would start the play off the ball. And certainly the ball was going to come to him. But it's not like he like came after a defensive rebound and like went to get the ball. It was like, here, I'll dribble it down and go shoot. And then even when he got the ball, I think when he was at 47, there where he took 1-3 that was like pretty heavily contested and it went off the back iron. And then after that, I was really interested to see, like, is he going to get stuck on this? Is he going to take a few bad threes here and just wait for one to go in? One probably would have, but then
went to the basket though.
Next play he attacked. Yeah, got to the bucket, you know, and like it was very upset he didn't get an and one because, you know, could have just got 50 right there. But then the next time down, this was the most impressive thing to me was, yeah, he drove into a crowd of nothing. Like I don't know if he would have scored there, but then he kicked out to the open man with like 2:12 to go, and you're up by a comfortable amount. You don't know for sure. Like maybe they said like, hey, we'll let you get it, but you don't know for sure if you're gonna Nikhil hits that and there's a timeout and all of a sudden you're out of the game. You don't know. And Nikhil missed it. But then the next time down, then Ant just attacked the rim again. Like the two shots he made, sure, they were hunting, but they were like also guaranteed scores, really, that helped really put a game that was kind of already decided, but really put it on ice.
What did you make of Finch letting him go for it? I think it's an interesting kind of representation of Finch as a coach. What did you make of it? Given that there's this game in altitude tonight, 24 hours later against the Nuggets. What did you I don't think there's a wrong answer on this, by the way, for people, what they're thinking at home, whatever. It's just I think it's representation of Finch. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was for it in that once you get to like 47, like played 38 minutes, like, are your legs gonna be that different if you played 36? You know, like if it's like, well, if you pulled him with 4 minutes left and you only scored 45, now
I mean, yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
I mean, some. Like, I'm not ripping on it. I'm cool with it too. But I do think there's a physical tax on doing that to some extent.
On that extra minute, those extra 3 trips down the court or whatever.
Oh, I thought you said 30.
I said like 36 versus 38, 2 minutes. You know,
I thought you said what he got was.
No. That would have been
no. I get that. Okay, sorry. I get if you're at 47 or whatever it was.
And that was kind of the first point where you could say this game is over. So I really think they kind of had to play the other minutes. Maybe you could have managed just the minutes differently in general for the night to put them at a smaller number, like even in the first half or whatnot. But they were losing by a lot. And I always was pretty confident they were going to win. But as a coach, I understand being like, we got to win this game.
Right.
So I understand the management aspect. Coaches are always going to be a little bit paranoid. They were losing. They were playing poorly. You're going to play your best guys to try to make sure that you reel that back in. And at the point where you're close, it's like, just go ahead. Like Finch has always kind of given him some leeway. It's until the shots get really bad. And it gets kind of embarrassing that then he comes out. Where this had never got to that. So I think Finch would kind of let him go for it in the past. And then it was like, whoa, this is bad. You're done.
I do think that would have happened.
Like three bad threes in a row, it would have been get out of here. Yeah, it would have been it.
It is like a cherry on top of the not resting against the Wizards thing. You know, like that you're playing Denver the next day. I do think. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure there's another team in the NBA that wouldn't have rested at least a player. In that
Denver
game.
Denver didn't either, and Utah didn't play hardly anybody.
But they have been rest. Like,
I hear you.
So not doing that.
Jokic not so much, but yeah, I mean, but
some though,
like one game maybe. Yeah.
I mean, Ant hasn't rested any. Rudy hasn't rested any. I guess Rudy technically would have rested that Boston game back in when they flew in day of or whatever. But in general, and again, I don't have an opinion necessarily strongly if it's right or wrong. If it were me, I probably would have been like, Mike, okay, you don't like need to play. I probably would have gone further than that. But it's also like Finch is kind of about what he's about. Like, we are going to be a team that plays. He said that for years. Like, he's like, we're not going to do that. He's clearly, I don't know if he stated it, but like clearly he's taken on like the player's coach sort of ethos, right? As that type of guy. And so if you're going to be that type of guy, like you're going to let your 22-year-old star, try and go for 50. And that's what I was trying to get at when I when I asked him post game of like, obviously Ant scored 50 against the Wizards is less important to you than it is to him, but you still let him, go do that and empower that. But I'll just play that clip. Here's Finch on why he let Ant go for it.
Chris, to John's question, talking about in other times Ant has maybe hunted those points or those margins. That's important to a player in their early 20s in particular. As a coach, how do you go about empowering that?
Everyone has a green light when they play for me, so that's the first step, giving them confidence to people to shoot the ball. It's really hard to have a night like that. I mean, physically, it is very hard to score 50 points. I mean, it takes a lot of energy and effort, and to do it with this type of efficiency is pretty impressive. But these things come. I mean, at times when Ant's hunted things, I've just said to him, you're going to be in the league for a long time. You're going to have many nights where you have opportunities to get these, big nights. They're going to come to you if you just keep playing the basketball game the way it should be played. And that's what he did tonight. So I'm proud of him.
And that's the type of coach, Finch is. And I think that works with Ant, right? Even if there's some sort of negative externality that could possibly come off of that tonight. Like, I think that's the way Finch is going to lead. And again, I don't think it's the end of the world. I also don't think it's what I would personally do, but you get to choose your style. And I respect that Finch kind of sticks to it.
Yeah. And I do also think performances like this and having a memorable night here, Finch kind of gave a quote in there as well. It kind of drives home the message of try in these games. We need you to try. Ant would just go pass and kind of float, and he would even kind of float defensively in these games and kind of just depend on the teammates to carry the load. And to their credit, they have. Rudy has carried the load in so many games against Cellar Dwellers this year. It was really impactful last night too. He's the guy who brings the same thing every day and sets a really high floor, especially against these bad teams. But when you're constantly especially these last week or so, trying to be dude, you got to bring it in these games. You got to bring it in these games. When he finally does, and he kind of did against Toronto, and he definitely did last night. You're rewarding that, and you're and then I think Finch even said in here, it was important for him to come in and keep playing in that manner like he did against LA. Then these are the games where you give yourself a chance to do something special as well. You see Ant, these teams are bad. So if you play hard, you can have these kind of nights. You can post these types of things, this is what can come from that. So I do think it also kind of helps cement in the message that really has started to seep into Ant's mind too. So I do think Finch is always thinking of a lot of things at once, and it plays into that as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I ever played the clip or anything. But what was it last week when Ant said to us, Finch, you've been on my ass about you don't look like you're taking these games seriously.
Here's the quote. He goes, usually these games I come out and don't have no energy and look like I don't want to be here. And Finchy been getting on my ass about that the last couple games. So I tried to come out with the approach that I would take as if we were playing a team that was super good.
Yeah, that's it. But I actually think that works. I'm glad you brought that up before. And that is important context because there's a contingent of people out there, I would assume right now, that are one, why did you play any of the starters against the Wizards? Two, why did you let them all? I mean, how did the garbage time not start until 70 seconds left in the game? I mean, there's that group. That's the thinking behind it, is he's been pushing Ant to care about playing against teams like the Wizards. And for those of us who have been watching, it has been painfully clear of those bottom 8 teams in the league. Ant was not caring, in the first 5 months of the season. And so, that's a good piece of content.
I mean, he finally said it publicly after that Toronto game. He makes plenty of inferences to it. And other times where we're just hanging around, I don't know, those types of things. So he acknowledged it. It's Ant always says the things that are very clear with your eyes and you know it, but then Ant will just come out and say it. Like, there's no sense of like, it's not like we need to hear him say it. It's very obvious, but then like he does say it because he doesn't really kind of shy away from the truth often.
Yeah, there's an honesty about Ant, as everyone who's like seen his interviews and all, and it's like he knows he can't pretend that he's trying hard when it's obvious that he's not. You know?
Right.
Let's grab our first break here. Today's show is brought to you by Your Home Improvement Company. It's the spring. You know, I think some of you are going to have a bathroom renovation or get new windows in your home, you know, coming up here. And we would just ask you to consider Your Home Improvement Company. They support this show. We'd love to support them with some business. You can contact them at 866-777-YHIC or go to yourhomeimprovementco.com. It's all up on the screen and in the show notes. They do have deals going on. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free. And you can get a full bathroom remodel done for 30% off, whether that's like a full bathroom thing or just a shower or bathtub renovation, like a quick one. That's the thing with Your Home Improvement Company is they can get it done quickly in as little as one day. A lot of these things with other companies, you know, might be 3-4 months out. So if you are considering a home renovation this spring, please do consider Your Home Improvement Company. Your Home Improvement Company, where it's your home made better. Jace, today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. I was looking at these this morning. What changed on me here? I'm always interested by the
oh, I thought you were gonna pull up Masters ones. Okay. Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, well you can give me a Masters. Oh, they must have just
I haven't looked at it.
Popular. I don't know. Yeah, you know, there's the Jokic one is always interesting to me because for the assists, because he just doesn't get assists against the Wolves. It's more or less than 8.5. I think he has 8 assists against the Wolves.
I have it at 10
games.
I have it at 10 on the year.
10 on the year. Yes,
5, a 3, and a 2.
That's what it was. I knew there was a 3. That was 5 the last. I think 5 was the last game because it was So I mean, for one reason or another, and I've asked Finch about this too, is like what are you doing? And he totally poo-pooed it.
Micah Nori said this on he went on K-Fan like the morning after one of those games where Jokic had 2 assists. And Paul Allen was like, "Oh, how did that happen?" And Micah knows Jokic well, like very friendly with him. Goes, "Well, he's a selfish player."
Oh, that's good. I was talking to Micah in the hallway that the game in Denver, and Jokic came up to talk to him, and he kind of like does the look at me like, "Hey, should I know who you are?" And I just like shook my head and like walked away. And then those two, that dude loves Micah Nori. Like,
yes,
like he's you've seen him around. He's just kind of like his like quiet lumbering side. He is like he sees Micah and like beams of an excitement to see him. There's
a really good Associated Press photo like of a pregame of Jokic talking to Micah on like the seats courtside, and like Jokic is just happy as can be.
I know, it's funny. It makes sense. I mean, we obviously Micah well, but so do all the fans from just like his interviews and all that. Just a genuine dude. But anyways, I check out Prize Picks today.
Few tangents today.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, that's all right. There's like, in all seriousness, like we kind of know this matchup pretty well, and some tendencies. The Jokic assist one is just one of them. But like, what do you think Ant's going to be able to do in this matchup? Is it going to be a big rebounding game for Rudy? This and that. Like, it's kind of fun to like be able to put something, even just yourself, on like, this is what I think is going to happen. Like, I feel like I know this team, and you can do it for $5 or whatever, and if you are right, be rewarded in that. This is not a get rich plan. It's daily fantasy. And I really think about it in the same way I think about when I play, fantasy football and stuff like that. Like, it's just a fun extra thing to do that boosts sort of your attention on the game. So prizepicks.com, PrizePicks app, promo code Dane for a $100 sign up bonus. Sorry to everyone. I told you to do all the unders on that last night. That wasn't great. That wasn't great at all. But check it out. Make a choice for yourself. Again, PrizePicks.com, PrizePicks app, promo code Dane. All right, Chase, where do we want to go next? Or do you want to talk more about that game, or should we go right into like cat reintegration stuff?
I don't have too much more on that game. I really don't. Nikhil played well. We've talked,
Yeah, I actually would have dedicated like a segment to Nikhil in this if me and Chris didn't just do it.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's been talked about a lot. He's been great. He's great a lot.
Let me ask you quick, like
super confident offensively, so that's cool. This actually fits pretty well into the reintegration part.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me pull up. You go ahead.
I was just wondering, like, what do you think Nikhil Alexander-Walker would get if he was a free agent this summer? I don't mean that. I just like.
I thought he was going to get way more last summer. So
right. So did I. But it's like, I mean, I think about what Bruce Brown got. Maybe it wouldn't be all the way that high. Bruce Brown went and led him to a championship, and maybe see what Nikhil does. I'm just saying, if it were me and I were a GM of a team with cap space, you're probably a younger team, like the Spurs or something like that. The Spurs who gave Zach Collins like 2 years, $35 million this past summer. Like, I don't know. That's the type of player who, I think he has a little bit more upside than, offensively than maybe it appears, but he's just someone I'm so confident in being able to fulfill that role and probably be able to do that for the next 7-8 years in the league. I just think he's going to be a long-term, high-end 3-and-D player. And to that end, I don't know. I think he deserves to be, in my opinion, deserves to be in that class of guys that we really revere in terms of being a 3-and-D guy, and those guys that often, get paid, $15+ million, maybe.
I was going to say he should make at least 18. Because like you are looking, like the shooting numbers are so consistent, and it's been that way now for the last couple seasons. Like he's a 40% 3-point shooter. And a lot of these, like, and really good catch and shoot. And if he has to do it off, like take a dribble and sidestep and do it, they're like, he's almost more comfortable doing that.
I know.
And he's playing elite defense. Like, you talk about 3-and-D, like he's literally phenomenal at both. And has like some creation upside as well, and is comfortable getting you started in your actions. Like he can do a lot of things. Like it's just a very underrated part as to why this team is so good in my mind. Because their bench, like, is so much better than everybody else's, because Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid have no business coming off a bench. That's just the truth. But Nikhil's great. He really is. He would make, I was stunned when they got him for that number last year, and it just to me was like, teams don't watch, teams don't watch the playoffs even. But yeah, he's been great. But just to kind of inch this into the cat
I think because they are. I mean, what I was gonna say is, Naz and Nikhil are not bench players. Well, now they are. Both of them.
You're right.
And that's a good thing for the Wolves.
Yeah. So Nikhil yesterday at shoot around was asked about Cat coming back. And he said, it's great. It's great. He said, I think him being out has allowed everyone to step up and play and have roles and get going for the postseason. I think the postseason definitely shows, and my career is a testament to that you never know what you might need. And just being able to be available and providing guys stepping up big. It's good to get their game reps now. Guys like J-Mac have been huge since Karl's been out. Monte, myself, Naz, what he's doing in his role. So I think Karl will be a huge help to us, make us more of a threat to make a deeper run. I think that's true. Like everybody, a lot of guys have really found their rhythm, their groove. Like this team the depth looks as good as it's looked. Like we've known they've had the depth, but I think the depth looks as good as it's ever looked in this period without Cat here. And obviously the challenge for all of this is always just to kind of keep it rolling.
Yeah, I think I asked Finch, I'll play the clip in a little bit, but I asked Finch about the Cat reintegration thing, and the first thing that came out of his mouth as to like what could be bumpy is the shift in the rotations. And that's what, basically saying all those things that Nikhil just said, J-Mac's assertion, Nikhil's own assertion, Naz, like those are going to need to be, it's not like they can't maintain, but they're going to need to happen within a different role and probably within a smaller and different load of minutes. And that's a question, right? If not only to switch the role, but to switch the size of it. You know, it
somebody's
makes
might
it less
disappear.
likely.
Somebody's might disappear. Like somebody's minute load might disappear.
Probably J-Mac.
Probably J-Mac. I mean, it's just like because they're at 9 right now. Like you usually don't play 10. You especially don't play 10 in the playoffs.
Yeah, J-Mac will get in like a game. It's like a playoff game.
We need a spark. I don't know. Things are going terrible.
Exactly. The Wolves are down 18. There's no way Jordan McLaughlin gets in a playoff game if the Wolves are like within 10 points. I think that's, I mean, well, I should say there's no way. That's how we saw J-Mac deployed when Cat and the whole roster was healthy. Not because, I mean, J-Mac's proven, I think to all of us, that he's an NBA rotation player too. It's like the step down of Naz and Nikhil, where like they probably deserve to be starters in the NBA. Well, J-Mac deserves to be a rotation player in the NBA, but considering this team is so deep, blah, 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 he's out there. I don't know. It's not the most important element of it to me. Like the role, I'll play the Finch quote here, but it's how Cat acclimates himself into this style of offense, which I appreciate Finch answering and getting to here. This one's kind of long, but I think it's worth playing. This is from pre-game last night.
Chris, how seamless is the I mean, while Naz and Karl are similar players, they have differences as well. How seamless is the transition to reintegrating Karl when that comes? I know you played a lot with him as well, but you've now recently not played with him.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not without its hiccups, but I think that has probably more to do with like the overall rotation and you know, minutes and kind of roles and distribution of that stuff will change slightly, of course, way more than like how we expect him to kind of come in and play. Like, you know, obviously he's extremely talented. We need him to be, you know, a very good version of himself, but also, you know, I think there are some things we figured out in the last couple of weeks that we're gonna need him to kind of lean into as well. Like, you know, might be slightly different than the rhythm in which we were playing before he left. So there's a few things there, but we've already talked about some of that stuff. He's actually seen it before. We even talked about it. He was the first to kind of bring it up, some of the things that he's noticed, which has been great. You know, that's why one more reason we're excited and hopeful to have him out there soon is that, you know, we can get to work on that.
You kind of began to answer the question, what did you gain during that time when Cat was out? You guys played really well.
Yeah.
And how can you retain those gains when he comes back?
Yeah, I think, you know, one thing that we gained, a lot of credit to Anthony, because, you know, the pressure and the attention on him went up. And for the most part, I thought he did a really good job of getting off the ball, using his gravity to create offense for his teammates. And now we have another person that draws that type of attention. And Cat's got to, you know, really kind of lean into just making that easy, quick play. And we've seen how everyone's team, you know, is benefiting from it. And they're really, whether it's the Nikhil question or anything else, they're stepping up. And hopefully, like, Ant can benefit from the gravity of Cat and vice versa, and that we didn't always have during the regular season. So hopefully now, like, we see it and we believe in it a little bit more. So.
I want to say, just as a quick aside before we get into that, I don't think any other coach in the NBA gives any answer on that topic, particularly to that degree of depth. And I think openness and transparency there. I know everyone out there thinks we're all Finch Bobos because he's nice to us or something. That stuff matters for us to be able to do our jobs better. And he's also, I think, nice and cordial to us as a person. But a willingness to answer like that does a service to me, which I think does a service to the fan base, and just being real about it, you know, like, of course it's not all just like rainbows and butterflies and everything's going to be, you know, seamlessly, perfectly fitting in. He laid out that, yeah, there's going to be some hiccups there, but we believe we can make this work. Here's why. I want to say I appreciate that, because I think that's pretty rare in the NBA.
Yeah, my biggest thing with like this is why I respect Ant for doing it too. Like it's the same exact thing for me of like when Ant says, "Yeah, I don't always try against. I often don't try against bad teams." The things that are obvious, the things that it's like insulting everyone's intelligence if you deny it. Like they've played some really great basketball. They played some really great offense, better offense than they played before, since Cat's been out, and it's been obvious why. Like there's been better ball movement. There's been just more like using gravity to create for others, and like the shots are coming within the swing and within the general flow of the offense on like swing passes, and that's why everybody's shooting percentages are soaring up. So to say otherwise would be super disingenuous. Couch it for sure. You know, like we think Karl can be a huge part of that. Karl came to us first, you know, and noticed it, so that's been great. You know, like and now he can be a part of this, but don't deny it. And I think like that's and also if you deny it, I think you are decreasing the odds of success like in reincorporating, because I think you really like that you have to address the elephant in the room, even like to Karl, and like, hey, see what we're doing? Like we need you to do that as well. We need you to be a part of this. And Finch is like that, where if he says something to a player, he's probably going to say it to us too, because it's like, I don't have anything to hide. We've already talked about this to Karl. He knows that I think this. Everybody knows that. Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, and I'm sure like Atlanta's doing the same thing too with Trae Young out, you know, and their defense having improved, and it's a different way of playing. It's not necessarily, and that's a kind of bad example because Trae is a bad defender, and Karl's not a bad offensive player. But my point is, they switched the way in which they were playing, and so now, like to Trae Young, you're like, we're going to play this way, and we need you to play this way, and for Karl, it's like, I think it comes with a whole level of excitement where it's like, hey, we need you to play this way. And because of the offensive talent you have, like this makes us ecstatic about the possibility. And that I think is completely genuine. When I asked Rudy about it last night too, I guess I'm not gonna read this whole thing. And then offensively, just bring in his unique talent that we missed. That's going to be great for us, but also spacing for his teammates, keep the offense flowing like it's been flowing, and you add his talent to that offense, it can be pretty special. Like I think that's the vibe within the team, is like we're good right now, but like we can be better with Karl. Karl is going to come back. There's no option here. Like it's not on anybody's mind of like, you know, give Karl the Heisman and just sit over there. Like, of course not. Of course, karl-Anthony Towns is going to play. The question is, you know, how are they going to play? Because it is going to be different than early on in the season. And early on in the season, when Karl was playing, this was a below average offensive team over a very large sample size of time. Not all Karl's fault, but the way the pieces were playing and the way the offense wasn't flowing and the way they weren't moving the ball, which Karl played a role in, but was not the only one. Ant played just as big of a factor. Other pieces, the spacing issues with Kyle and Shake Milton and J-Mac and Rudy. Like, there's not that the offense was 17th or 18th or whatever when Cat went down. Wasn't Cat's fault. He played a role in it. He left. The rest of the guys changed the way they're playing. And now Karl, who apparently, to Finch's point, has already kind of been on it, watching like, okay, I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to, try to play that way. And I don't think there's much belief in the fan base that he will be able to do that. And I don't know, but I don't think to me, it's not, I will not be shocked if Karl comes in and does play that style of offense. And I think to a lot of people, they might be. It's going to be hard for Karl. He hasn't played this way much in his career, but I don't know. That's just where I'm kind of at with that. I don't mean you haven't talked about it that much. Like, what do you think the odds are that Karl will be able to effectively reintegrate that way?
There's a chance for sure. I do think, like when every single time when you played, you've caught the ball and kind of like and held and sized up because like you're like the whole offense was usually just to get you the ball, especially in the early stages of his career. And then it was like, go to work, Karl, and the idea of like using your gravity was you go to work and then if the double comes in, get off of it.
Yeah.
But like the whole idea of like go to work, you like less and less of that, in this style of offense. Now, to be honest, like just hearing a little bit of the optimism, even in Finch's voice, I think of like, oh, we can do it. I do wonder, like, he's obviously returned some scrimmaging, whatever. Like maybe he has shown some of it. Maybe they've seen it. Maybe that's given them a little bit of like, okay, okay, you're getting there. Like, this isn't bad. This looks, like you're showing signs of it. You seem to have an understanding of what we want. That's totally speculative on my part. I haven't asked anybody, but like, I don't know. Maybe they have seen like just in like a few 5-on-5 things where they're like, okay, yeah, that's what we want. That's good movement right there. Like, great spacing, all that kind of stuff.
Do you know what I think is going to be at a minimum? And I think you and many other people know this. When Karl was really struggling with the refs and he said, I am going to stop talking to the refs. And for like a week and a half, he did. Like, I think Karl will, and he did the thing where he's pissed about a call and he just sprinted back almost to like make a point, you know? Yep. But he did. He didn't talk to the refs for like whatever that was, like 5 days.
Yep.
And I think at a minimum, Karl will do that at the beginning of like even overly like swing it like so fast. You will see him like showing this. I am doing it quickly.
Yeah.
And then the question will be, once adversity strikes, will that sustain? And to your point, like, it will be easy, particularly in a playoff context, for everyone. For Ant too, like playing against double teams, it's just easy in a playoff context to fall into habits. Not even necessarily bad habits, just fall into that. You're tired. You want to play well, so you're going to go to the things that you're more comfortable with, your natural mean of doing things. My prediction would be that at least at the beginning, you see an almost overly intense. Have an overly outsized intention to move the ball and keep it moving. I think just like he did when he stopped talking to the refs for that couple weeks.
I can totally picture what you're talking about. Like, it'd be like catching and passing all in like one motion.
Yeah.
Receiving and instantly
kind of like gets down in a squat almost.
Yeah. Can I say, like, I truly do believe that at this point in time, like this will be a Timberwolves career defining moment for Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, just given like you're heading into the playoffs where you already have a certain reputation that you probably don't like, that just like you don't perform, you don't play to nearly the same level you do in the regular season. And now it is going to be coming off of the back of a time where like the Wolves in the last 14 games have the 7th best offense, the 3rd best defense. I mean, the 2nd best defense, the 3rd best net rating. They've been great. They've been really great. And if you come in and the offense dips back, people are going to then really start finger pointing, and they will have a lot of data to do it. So it will be like, well, this is what's always been the problem, like it. So I do think where if you can come in and just kind of meld into what's already happening, but with your skill set, obviously, which is elite, like you are an incredibly skilled player, and just buy in and do it, then it's like, okay, yep, this can work. This can work long term, hey, this is your chance, I think, to show that like you can be a part of this group in its highest form. Because if you can't, then a lot of those questions, a lot of those past like criticisms, they're going to ring true. So I do think this is kind of this playoffs, obviously starting this week, but then into these playoffs, this will define Karl-Anthony Towns' Timberwolves career in my mind.
I think that's a really good point to bring up. I think it's true. It's a I mean, here we go, man. Like, you're the 1-2 seed in the West. Like, this is as big as it's ever been with Wolves basketball in the last 20 years. And as one of the best players, particularly in this situation, coming back, like, yeah, there's a lot on his on his plate to deliver, as there is with Ant and Rudy and all that. I think like I've like tweeted out a couple of, and I think this is fair pushback I've got from fans of like some clips and where like Ant had a turnover, and I was like, it would really help if Karl was spaced here in this spot instead of like if Karl was on the floor here instead of Kyle Anderson. And people are like, well, Cat never really spaces to the corner. And I'm like, okay, like that, that's fair. Maybe he will do more of that there. But there's also part of it like where if Cat still doesn't space the corner and still kind of does his thing, there are, like, we forget that there are just things that he just adds, even if he reverts or whatever, goes back to playing his exact same way. The way he unlocked Rudy in kind of that 4-5 2-man game. I think like sometimes we forget about like how dynamic the pick and pop with Mike Conley has been between him and Cat at times. Like, that's a problem. Like, it is a problem for other teams if the Wolves are using Cat in specific actions, even if it's not in the same way as Nas. So I think there's like kind of a way to get a backdoor flush here too, where even if Cat doesn't do exactly the Nas sort of things, he can still be really impactful in terms of on the offensive side of the floor, kind of in his different own sort of way. Like that's a possibility too. And just coming back into a group that doesn't necessarily have the spacing issues around him like they did earlier in the season. Even the old Cat might work here too. I think we've kind of like dismissed that element of it a little too much.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the things he does can just add another layer to their offense, like just another, and especially in the playoffs when like certain things get taken away or whatever, like as many options as you have to go to, as many different cards you can play, like the better chance you have of like winning the hand. The thing that has to happen is like he can't revert to old Cat in the way that it stunts everybody else. That everybody else reverts back to standing and watching. That's where like old Cat habits sink the ship. You know, like it's so when I say like this is career defining moment for Cat, it doesn't mean like you got to go out and score 25. It means that you have to go out and clearly like play a big role in helping this team win, which Ant shows some nights does not even mean you're scoring that much. It just means like you're using your gravity for others, you're spacing, whatever the case may be. Like you being on the court is having a clear positive impact in helping the team win the game. Win big games against good teams. So like I totally agree with you. Like his skill set definitely unlocks things that they can do. You know, that they did in the past. And now if you're mixing it in with everything else, it's even more dynamic. It just can't be. It really does kind of come down to the ball holding and the poor decision making and like driving into traffic, playing in a crowd, all that kind of stuff, because that then stunts everybody else where now nobody else is in a rhythm. They're not going to make the open shot you finally do generate for them on the fourth possession, those types of things.
Yeah. I thought I should have clipped this one. Sorry. But I asked Rudy about like the Cat reintegration thing. And it was interesting in his answer. Like I said, he talked about needing to space for teammate, keep the offense flowing. He started with defensively. Obviously, I know his effort level is going to be there. It's going to be 200%. And Rudy holds praise as much as any good player I've ever covered on this team. He's been really proud of and praised Ant over this last month for the ways in which he's played, the getting off the ball, the maturity, the professional approach to all of it. And when he says that about Cat, like Rudy means that with defense. And again, to go back to like past seasons or whatever, like that was not a given from Karl that you were going to get the defense that you felt like you needed. And for Rudy Gobert to really believe in at least the effort of it, I think Rudy's genuine when he's saying that. Like Cat has earned his brownie points with Rudy on the defensive side of the floor, and respect there. You know, there's obviously he's playing the four. He's gonna have some tough matchups. There's gonna be some bad Cat defensive clips in the playoffs. But what Rudy cares about is the effort to be able to play and execute and be intentional. And I mean that's. We don't think about that enough. We do think about the ball holding and those sort of things and the complaining. And there just have been a lot of things that Karl has done this season that we wouldn't have expected before. And my brain goes to the ball holding and the expectation of that happening. And I just like, there is more to the picture too, that Cat does provide. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting from Rudy.
I just like the Cat and the official complaining. I'm like, I just seen enough of like Ant this year. And obviously the 14 texts and Finch, I think basically complains every possession down the court. So like Karl, like
Finch complains every possession down the court.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
true.
like, so Karl, like, and the biggest thing for Karl is just like, hey, if you go down and you think you got fouled, like you got to run back. Like it's always just like, but like to single out Karl for complaining is, I think, kind of growing to a point where like really maybe my eyes have been open in this last month. Like they are all doing it. I mean, it really is like it's kind of a team wide thing, and they do complain more than some. They complain the same amount of some teams. But they definitely complain more than some teams as
and
well.
Those teams are going to lose a playoff game because of that, and the Wolves will too.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
If they do, like,
Maybe,
that's
yeah, right. But the biggest thing is like, Carl, if you're gonna complain, you're just gonna blend in. Like, just get back. Just make sure you get back. Like, there are possessions where Ant doesn't get back too, so you can't have two guys not getting back.
yeah.
So like, I don't. If he's gonna complain, he's gonna complain. Like everybody complains. I just like at some point, it is what it is. Just get back. The defensive effort, I do think that's something that we've largely acknowledged all season, right? Like it's been really good. Like he's tried really hard. Like he's bought in. He's been put. He is like not even as athletically equipped to do some of the things that like Nas can do on the perimeter because Nas is built like a small forward now. Literally like thin, quick, all this stuff. Karl is like longer, and so like, yeah, if there's clips where like Karl can't chase somebody properly off a screen and they hit a three, it's like, okay, like he's trying his best out there. You can shift things schematically to compensate for that. It's just like, as long as you are bringing full effort. Like Tibbs always said this, like when we look at schemes, it's like the first thing we look at, are we doing it with the proper like intensity and execution? And if the answer to that's yes, then we can look at like what we need to actually change with our scheme. But if the answer to that's no, then nothing's going to work. So it doesn't matter what we do. And with Karl, oftentimes it's like he is at least doing things with the proper effort. And so it's like, if it's not working, then maybe we should switch it, which is why they probably should have like multiple years ago been like, Karl's trying in the drop. It looks terrible. We should switch it. Like that wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
you got to play to your player's strengths.
From Woj, Cat not playing tonight against the Nuggets.
That would have been a stunner. Had he back in altitude in a big game.
But a return over the weekend against Atlanta or Phoenix looms possible. So that's nothing tonight. I guess maybe that's a way to get into just quickly wrap this up with the Denver matchup. We know now that there's, not going to be Cat in that. So it's this group, this style of play, a team that's coming off a back-to-back. I guess Nas isn't really, he did get ejected in that, in the Wizards game last night. I think he played 5 minutes or whatever it was. But yeah, what are you looking for in this matchup? Do we know that Jamal Murray's playing?
I'd be stunned if he didn't.
Yeah.
But you don't know. Like they do care more about, Jamal Murray being healthy heading into the playoffs than the 1 seed. But he only played 27 last night. I think if he was going to sit a game, it should have been last night.
He's not even on it right now. It's Aaron Gordon's game time decision is what I'm looking at right now.
And Jacob Gordon played. And Gordon played last night.
I haven't looked at
and the thing about these is there's not like an updated one in the morning. Like you don't have to file until like 2:30. So that is just off of whatever was pulled from like last night.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
So like Murray could not play today, and that wouldn't be on there yet. If everybody plays, I mean, for
Gordon did not play last night.
Okay.
Murray did.
Murray did. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's the exact same thing with like now with Denver with all its pieces again. Can you continue to? I don't feel like Jokic has necessarily figured out Minnesota's defense. I really don't. And because I do think like if he ever finishes a game with 5 assists, 3 assists, 2 assists, he's probably frustrated. So if they can continue to contain him with Denver with all of its pieces, that to me then I think it really gives Minnesota a great chance to win tonight. And B, like I think it's just more evidence that you can really trust Minnesota in a playoff series against Denver should that time come in the West Finals. Because if he can't figure it out, like I don't know if Denver can win 7 times. I mean, 4 times in a 7-game series, against a full strength team, because this team, like as good as Denver, all of its pieces are, it is very Jokic centric. He is the best player by a mile. Jamal Murray's good. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA. So if they can limit his superpowers as they have kind of done.
It is interesting. They've done it, honestly, in large part because Aaron Gordon has played. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So now, like, there's
Denver's not deep enough to where.
No, I know, but it presents a different look. That's what I was going to say. Like for them or for the Wolves too. Yeah, like it's Christian Brown then, and so maybe you can guard
really
that
small.
The same way. Yeah. But like I'm putting my Denver hat on here. Yeah. Like there's maybe what you want at like a pivot or a different way to play that you could have in your bag is like, all right, we are going to. Aaron Gordon is going to play at the 5 all of the minutes when Jokic is out, so that's 10 of his minutes there. And then you maybe also, if you did learn something in this game that you like about that look of, kind of 4 shooters around Jokic, and that maybe it gives them something that they can go to. Now, the other side of that is Aaron Gordon, I think, is extremely important in this matchup from a defensive standpoint. I think whatever he costs them in the ways it allows the Wolves to guard them, I think he can make up for that defensively. Particularly, again, my stance on it is I think Aaron Gordon should be guarding Anthony Edwards. That's how I would approach a matchup from the Denver side of it. But I don't know. It might be actually kind of interesting for Michael Malone to see what it looks like against the Wolves without Aaron Gordon, because this whole premise of the Wolves are a good matchup for the Nuggets is based on the idea that they can guard Jokic with the 4 and have Gobert leave Gordon and provide that, that help or that double when necessary, which Rudy, I think, has gotten so good at, particularly in that matchup. Like that last Denver game, Rudy was a menace in that role. Like, I just think he's always done that in his career. Like they used to do that to Cat when he was in Utah. Like Rudy's really good at that. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the Wolves play him if and when that isn't an option. But who knows? Maybe Gordon plays too.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I do think it's often a thing of like as many shooters as you have, that's the best way to attack Minnesota's defense. Like spread them out as much as humanly possible, and then that opens things up for you, because like anytime anything like kind of gets coagulated in the paint, like you're gonna have a really hard time, because that just increases Rudy's dominance. He just gets better and better and better as that the less spread you can be. It's just for Denver, it's like they're just not a deep team. So like if you take one of their good players out of the lineup, they get worse. They just don't have guys you can trust outside of it. So like, yeah, like
Nas or Ant are going to have a easy. If there's no Aaron Gordon, always Nas or Ant will have a good matchup to go at.
Yeah, and if you take out Gordon, and then maybe they can put in like Christian Braun, and it's okay, our starting 5 looks okay, the bench minutes look even worse. And that's always the biggest thing, is it's not like how do your starters look when you're missing guys, it's how does your bench then look. I think Denver's would look pretty horrific.
Yeah, like last night, Peyton Watson has to play 30 minutes. And this was without Gordon. Has to play 30 minutes. Reggie Jackson plays 24. Justin Holiday plays 18. Even Zeke Naji was in the rotation. Like, to your point, it's like that's what's great about the Wolves right now, right? Is like you can move Nas in there, and like they just found a way to backfill that so well, that because they just have better players, better depth coming off. And I think that's a really, important thing. Maybe a little less so in the playoffs, whatever, when guys play more, but still, it's like also in a playoff context, that 9 minutes a game Jokic sits. Yeah. Like, can you win that, 20-11? That's a big difference. It's almost the expectation.
Real question: would Luka Garza play in Denver's rotation?
Like in general or against Minnesota?
No, I just think in general. Like, I mean, I know Aaron Gordon is like who they play at the 5 in big games that they view, but I just don't know if that's because they just don't trust whoever they have at 5.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they just think that's their only answer.
Right. Yeah. It's like,
I think Luka Garza is better than DeAndre Jordan and Zeke Naji at this point.
Yeah, it's just in a different way. It's like with DeAndre Jordan or Zeke Naji, it's just like physical size for defense. Yeah. Like Jordan's huge, and Naji is just like turned into like a bruiser guy.
Right.
Whenever I see him, he's just like hitting people. Yeah. Which Luka would be the opposite thing, but it would, it would be more offense.
Right. Offensively, they just get stuck so often without Jokic out there. It's like Jamal Murray dribbling around for 20 seconds, being like, "Okay, guys, I'm trying to find a shot here."
Yeah, or even worse, Reggie Jackson doing that.
Yeah, who's been atrocious.
Yeah. No, they are not. They are not a deep team, and and that's a factor. I still can't like totally wrap my head around like the positive value of that for the Wolves from a playoff standpoint against a lot of different teams. Like they're gonna have the best bench in the West. What's the value of that in the playoffs? There's value in it. Right. I just like, and maybe that's, we just got to see. And it's also like, the Wolves bench group is really good. Can they take advantage of those non-Jokic minutes? Will they? It's proof's gonna kind of be in the pudding there. I'm excited to see it tonight. Jamal Murray, like to play against Jamal Murray too. I just think, and like the way Jaden played defensively against Booker and D'Lo over the weekend, and then just Nikhil every night. I mean, it's 48 minutes of hell for Jamal Murray in this series. 48 every minute.
Yep.
You were on the floor in the play series. That's tough, dude.
That's the thing where like Nikhil did an incredible job in the playoffs last year. Got tired. Like chasing, because like as tiring as it is to be Jamal Murray, it's more tiring to even be Nikhil in that spot. So like Nikhil and Jaden being able to pass that role off and not maybe get as exhausted because they're sharing the load. That makes Minnesota even better in that spot, frankly, because now you're like, okay, I've only been doing this for 28 minutes, and Jamal Murray's like, I've been running around 50 screens for 42 minutes, you know, like, so I think that makes a big difference.
God, I just love watching Nikhil Alexander-Walker guard players that annoy me, like Jordan Poole last night. That one play right in front of us last night, I just loved. Poole made the crazy shot at the end, but like, God, I have so much respect for that style of defense that Nikhil plays. Like, just attached. That's so hard. It's so hard. And to your point, like to the fatigue standpoint of it, is like, that's what I think is just gonna be sweet about Nikhil in the playoffs, is like, was he gonna play like 16, 17 minutes a night?
Which just feels so unjust.
It does, but like, be a bat out of hell for those 16, 17 minutes, right? Like, there's not going to really be the need in the playoffs to be the at the basket guy, like be the corner shooter and, make Jamal Murray's life hell. And if he can do that, that's a weapon. That's a real weapon in that series. So we'll see tonight against Denver. That's all I got for today here, Jace. The plan for listeners tomorrow is a little bit later. It's a later game tonight, and Britt is writing in the morning, so we're not gonna record until like 11, I guess 12:30 Central Time. So know that a pod is coming off of the Denver game, but it'll be a couple hours. It'll come out a couple hours later than we normally do. That'll kind of be the plan. Also, I don't know, maybe we'll do something else over the course of the weekend if I think there's going to be more information that comes out of the Board of Governors meeting today that might be related, to the Wolves and ownership stuff there. So if there is stuff worth reacting to there, I think Kyle and I will jump in sometime on Friday or Saturday to discuss that. But yeah, then other than that, it's the Hawks game on Friday. And then Sunday night, Kyle and I are going to go live after I get back from the game. We're going to do that, right? Just for listeners, mark down in your head, Sunday night, 7:30. We'll kind of do a last game of the season, what happened against Phoenix there, but also just, I think we'll know kind of the standings and all of that. We'll talk about the Suns game a little bit. We'll take some live listener questions because we'll go live on YouTube. So have that marked down, 7:30 p.m. Central on Sunday night for a live show on YouTube with Kyle and I. Jace, appreciate you doing it, and I will see you on Friday at the Hawks game.
Can't wait, man. Maybe the returns of Cat and Trae Young. We'll see.
Yeah, I know. That'll actually. I mean, that's not a Wizards game.
No.
Like that's like a game. Like that's like a game that they're gonna have to play. To win.
They lost the Hawks this year.
Yeah, I mean, and the Hawks are bad and also good. Like
yes,
they're Bulls. They're Bulls.
Yep.
They're like the Bulls, but like in a different way. Where I said after
they can spread the floor. They can do.
They're like good enough that if you don't take them seriously, if you treat them like the Wizards, they'll beat you kind of like the Bulls game.
Not as easy to erase that 20-point.
For sure.
Deficit that you create for yourself. Yeah,
for sure.
That's it's definitely like there are teams in the NBA who are not good but are capable. Atlanta is capable.
Yep, I would agree with that, and particularly with Trae. I don't know, maybe that does hurt the defense again, but we will see. So that's coming up on Friday, and yeah, until Thursday, maybe afternoon with Britt. He's Jace. Follow him on Twitter at Jace Frederick. I'm Dane at DaneMooreNBA. Yeah, till tomorrow. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah.